Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to the Grapevine movie reviews. I'm Matt.
I'm Yash.
I'm Michael.
I'm Mariana.
I'm Andy.
And this week we're trying something very new. Something that has me very excited. This week we've all seen two movies. We've seen two movies and one person hasn't seen any of them. That person is Andy. And this week is a versus episode. That's right. This week me and Yash will be fighting on behalf of the film Valerian.
City of a Thousand Planets.
This mission is a simple in and out. Agent Valerian, you'll be running solo.
I only work with my partner.
Hi.
We're a team.
And Michael and Mariana are going to be fighting on behalf of Dunkirk.
The enemy tanks have stopped.
Why?
Why waste precious tanks when they can pick us off from the air like fish in a barrel?
Boo.
All towards Andy to try to get him to decide which movie he's going to see, because he has to see a movie this week. This is how this is differing from our normal format. I'm very excited to try this out. Andy, why don't you take the reins? This is your show. So,
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live on the Vine! This is the moment you've all been waiting for, and finally, it's time! And now, fighting out of the red corner, from the mind of Luc Besson, holding an opening weekend box office of 18 million, Valerian.
Yeah.
Fighting out of the blue corner, from the mind of Christopher Nolan, holding an opening box office of $50 million, Dunkirk. As Matt said, this is a fight. I want a clean fight. No low blows. At the end of the day, we guys are friends. We're going to go home and talk about this for days to come. This is the first versus episode. Let's keep it clean. All right? And the ceremonial bell, when you hear it, we'll start 10 minutes of talk time for the underdog, Valerian, since they have the lesser box office. Then 10 minutes of Dunkirk. And then we'll have a 5-minute segue of a versus. Head to head, fight to the death. And then I'll go and make my decision. So, without further ado, let's get it on.
alright. So right now it's me and Yash. We're going to be talking about Valerian.
Movie opens. It's 16mm film. It's fuzzy. It's grainy, and it's the first time we made contact in space. And I think it's the Russian or it's astronauts greeting each other in space, and then it moves forward 5 more years, and we're landing on the moon again. Astronauts greeting each other in space, and it goes back hundreds of years. I think this is the 26th century, and we're greeting these weird, not even humanoid-looking aliens in space, and with the backdrop of a giant spaceship orbiting Earth, and it's getting too big. It's getting
bigger and bigger, because as new species are coming to this place, they're all connecting their space stations together. And after so many species are coming, meeting different kinds of aliens, meeting different kinds of human beings, all coming to this huge spaceship, it gets so huge that it can't be in Earth's orbit anymore. It's too big.
It drifts off into deep
It's
space.
pretty much as big as a planet.
Yes.
And that's about as much exposition as you'll get in about an hour and a half.
So that's what happens at the first shot of the movie. So we cut to Valerian and Laureline. No. We're gonna get to this. Valerian and Laureline are basically these two. I'd say they're military kind of government agents that work for the human government on this city of 1,000 planets, basically. Valerian is a legendary coxman in the universe. He has bedded many women of different species, different races, different everything. He's been all over the place. He has a playlist on the computer that tells him how many women he has been with. But he's ready to settle down with his partner, Laureline, who's very smart. She's one of the smartest people that has ever existed. She's a genius, and you can tell that she has a little bit of an attraction to Valerian, but she's like, you've been with too many ladies. You're a player. You're this guy that just goes around trying to bed different women. I'm not going to be one of your conquests. But he's really in love with her. He wants to be with her. He wants to settle down and have a wife. He wants to settle down and have someone that he can be like, this is the person that I love. I don't want to just be around sleeping with all these different women. So, that's kind of the journey that these two characters go on while they go on all these different missions, basically. Which the mission in this movie is they have to retrieve an item from this black market in this like digital bazaar, this digital marketplace. And they're trying to bring it back to the planet so that they can, the big marketplace is what they call it. They call it the big marketplace, yeah. So like, the marketplace, the way that it works is they go to like this desert planet and you put on these headsets and you're basically put into like a digital Amazon shopping space. But like it actually exists. You're walking around, you're seeing different people. You're able to get things at the different shops and then send it through these portals that send it to where you actually are. But the actual shopping place doesn't exist on this planet. Is how it works.
It's a place where Trump supporters go to shop, where because you can't go to where this actual place is, so they go to this virtual shopping mall where they're safe and they can shop around in these dangerous place. Yeah.
So anyway, they retrieve the item after some cool action sequences where there's these people trying to stop them from getting it. There's this like big bad that works. There's like a mob boss. He's the one that had the item that they're trying to steal. They get it, they bring it back to the base, and that basically kicks off a whole bunch of events that they're discovering new planets, new species, and there's just all these different worlds that they have to go to on this city of 1,000 planets because so many different species are living there. There's species that live underwater, there's species that live only in like electricity, basically. There's species that are just humans that live normal human lives. There's species that like fly and they need to have like less gravity and all this stuff. There's all these different places on this space station that you get to see throughout the course of this movie as they're going throughout this kind of espionage mission of trying to figure out this mystery and also trying to like save a species that no one knew really existed is basically the idea of this movie. Now, the reason why this movie works, the reason why this movie is so fun is because one, Laureline and Valerian, they have a repartee, a banter, a relationship that just is so magnetic and so powerful on the screen that you just like, I really want them to be together. And you can tell that they care about each other. And there's several points in the movie where they get separated and one of them has to go save the other one, and you can tell that they're really committed to each other and trying to save each other. That's the reason why that's the first.
You're killing us.
Yeah, no, tell me, what do you
The
mean?
actual reason why this movie works, this is a blockbuster movie that's such a breath of fresh air in a room of farts. It's just Luc Besson is able to do the things. He's able to bring his crazy childhood imagination to life because he funded this movie by himself, away from Hollywood. There's not a single American accent in like an hour of this movie. How a movie like that cannot get made anymore. This, if you're making a big budget movie, it's coming out of Hollywood.
So, even with a big budget movie, I don't think I've ever seen a movie that has a scope as big as this movie. Like, there's so many different ideas and so many different like concepts for aliens and different alien planets and different alien like characteristics and like different designs, creature designs, all these different world designs. They all exist within the same movie, which is kind of crazy because we see like 7 different kinds of like places where aliens are, and we interact with like 7 or 8 different kinds of species of aliens, not just the humans. Yeah. And like it all feels very well fleshed out for these species, like
and organic,
and like the fact that it's all existing in the same movie is kind of insane. Like it's the scope of it is so big that you kind of have to see it. Like it's insane.
All right, now question. You have about 3.5 minutes left. Yeah. I want you to explain what the acting is like, what the acts are like, what the cinematography is like, what the CGI. Go ahead.
Okay, so the reason why the acting works is it works on, there's 2 levels of the way the acting works. Cara Delevingne, who is not an actress that I've been like very much focused on her career and seeing how she develops. I did not like her in Suicide Squad, as everyone knows. But I think in this movie she's very well utilized because she is unconventionally attractive in a way that makes like it draws you to her physically on the screen. I think that there are moments in the movie where she is channeling some of the best Nicolas Cage performances I've ever seen in my life. Like, she's handing it up. She knows that the movie is a pulpy movie. She knows that it's a schlocky movie, and she is performing based on that. She knows that that's what the movie that she's in. If there's a weak point in the acting, I would say it's probably Dane DeHaan as Valerian. But even that is fascinating, because as you're watching it, it's so weird, because you can see that he's horribly miscast in the part. But in that way, like, you can't take your eyes off him. You're like, how did they cast him? Why is he in this movie? And everything that he's saying, you're just like, really? This guy? And it's like, it's this feeling of like, you're confused, but you're drawn in. You need to know what's going on.
Okay. The reason why you should see this movie, it's not, you don't go for the acting, don't go for any of that, any of the normal merits you would judge a film on. Just see it because it's just an amazing science fiction movie. It's an amazing space opera. There's so much amazing stuff happening, stuff you've never seen before. We've already mentioned the space, the big market, which is a store in another dimension. That scene alone you should see.
The way that the big market works is so cool. Like, it's like this idea that you can go into Amazon.
Not even the idea, but how that scene plays out with them just kind of like investigating, and he, okay, so Valerian only has one arm. You can't really make physical contact in that world. You can only see digital, it, but he has a device that lets his arm get into that dimension, and he's looking at his arm, and it's just his arm floating everywhere, and he's
how they smuggle a gun in.
Yeah, and he gets a gun in there, and he has to steal that. It's nothing you've ever seen before. It's fucking crazy, and it looks beautiful.
And conceptually, like, just all these things, the way they work, and like, there's just concepts in there that you haven't seen in anything else. No science fiction movie.
There's no way to talk about this without sounding like a babbling idiot.
There's so I'm not even going to resist. So many things going on in this movie, but the fact that they find a way to make it all be pretty cohesive by the end, and all serve the ultimate story that they're trying to tell, it's actually really cool. And I mean, I think that you have to see it in theater because it's just a movie that is so inventive and so fresh that you really need to see it on the big screen. I really believe that.
Boom. Done. All right. So that was the Valerian sound off. All right. I took it upon myself to, as you were speaking, taking a look at your competitors, seeing if what you were saying was truthful, what you were saying was a crock of crap. And there was some points that you did say that they kind of gave me the look like, yeah, I could say that. And then there was some times where they were giving me the hell to the no. To the no. So, let's get into it. Dunkirk, ready, go.
Okay, I'll start off with the basic synopsis. So, the movie basically takes place on the shores of Dunkirk during World War II, as the French and the Belgian, and specifically the British, attempt to escape from the dangers of the Germans onto their ships. The whole movie is situated on the shores, but is split into 3 sections. The shore itself, where everyone is trying to escape onto the ships to go to England. Then there's the skies, where the Air Corps are trying to shoot down enemy planes that are themselves shooting down the boats that are helping the soldiers escape to England. And then there's also the civilians who answer the call to come and help save as many soldiers as they can. The movie switches back and forth between these 3 storylines on their role and the ways that they can help themselves and the soldiers return home to England. So I think that's the basic plot. That's
yeah. I think the reason you see Dunkirk, especially as fast as possible, is you have to see it in IMAX because it's a very different type of movie as a whole. It does not feel like your typical movie, and that's not a bad thing. This is Christopher Nolan saying, why does every war movie have to be that, here's our troops and let's have a little scene getting to know them and they're talking and becoming friends, maybe in training, maybe between battles. And then, that gets that emotional connection so that during the battle we start feeling bad when they start dropping one by one. And then, it all wraps up and we defeat the Nazis. he is doing a very different thing here. He sets out to make a film that makes you feel like you are on the ground with them. You are up in the skies when they are flying the planes. You are on the boats when the boats are going down. I've never felt the way I felt in a movie like I do here, where it's, you're not connected necessarily to individual characters. You feel like you are involved in what's happening, and that is an experience that needs to be done in the theater, I think. Anything to add?
I'd say to add on the point of IMAX, specifically, this movie is the definition of a cinematic experience. Mm-hmm. You need to, the best way I could compare is, because it's not relying so much on character development, because there's no time. This movie begins and ends at the battle on the shore. There is no time for characters to sit down and talk about, I have a family back home, or, I do this for a living. There's no time. And if they did do that, that would feel unrealistic. Because you're at this moment where it's life and death. All your ships that are coming to help you are being blown up. You can't go back. You can't go back the opposite. You can't go the opposite way of the sea because the Germans are there.
Yeah, they're pushing them inwards. Yeah.
They're being pushed towards the shore. They're on this. Even though it's a huge shore, it's very claustrophobic.
The entire movie feels claustrophobic, and he does such a good job with that.
And the thing is, like I was saying, the best way to describe this is it's kind of like a VR experience, and that's why I say you should see it on the biggest screen, and especially in IMAX, just because it fills up the entire screen. You feel as if you're in there. When there's the airspace battles. Not space. Sorry, air battles. When they're in the planes, you're in the cockpit. The camera is solely in the cockpit. You're in there with the pilot. You feel
I find throughout the whole thing, he does these camera angles where you're always at sort of eye level with the soldiers.
Yeah, even the soldiers. Sometimes there's wide takes where you can see the whole. You can see the planes fighting from a distance, or you can see all the soldiers lining up. But most of the time, if there's a group of soldiers, it's as if you're sitting down with them. It's always you're sitting there with them, and that's why most of the time, I care about character and character development. But at this point, there's no time for that, and because it puts you right in, it's kind of you're almost. You can never experience it like they actually did, but you're put in that situation.
It's not to say that the characters don't have personalities. It's just that you get glimpses of those personalities through through their actions, and it breaks out through what is this overall feeling of absolute fear and just horror. It is a very suspenseful movie. If you like suspense, this is one of the most suspenseful things I have ever seen, just because you're in the boats with them as the boat gets hit by something they don't even know. They just know that suddenly the boat's going down, water's gushing in, and they're trying to get out as fast as possible. You get these tiny little breaks where they get to eat. That's, they don't get to sit down and talk with each other. They get a slice of toast, and you just see the joy on their faces because this is the best thing that's happened to them. It is so emotional because she compares it to a VR experience. It is a little bit like that, with the added bonus of the fact that this is a masterclass director doing it. I keep saying, I apologize. It's this feeling like you are there with them, and you're getting to know them a little bit through that fear, and you're relating to them through the fear, and just you form this disgust with the entire situation because you think about it puts you there and you think about what it would be like to be in their situation, and it's terrifying. And I don't think any other war movie has ever hit it like it has with this one. That's what I have to say. Anything
I have
else?
some questions.
Yeah.
So I would say, what about the fear aspect? Do you, since there's no character development, do you relate to the people on screen? Do you feel for them? Do you feel the peril that you're saying that is there, that they're trying to imply? Do you feel it yourself? Like, holy crap! Like, I even though I don't know these characters, like, damn, like.
I think the reason you connect, because I don't want to say there's no character development. It's just you're getting to know them in a war sense, where you're alongside them, you feel their fear, and you feel their slim pieces of joy. But like the parts that you relate with is that you can really see how badly they want to go home throughout this entire thing. And that is such a basic, relatable thing. That's why you care, I'd say.
I'd also say, like, speaking about the fear thing, there's a few moments, especially with the air planes, the enemy planes, sometimes they come over and it's just a deafening noise. It's you hear it everywhere. It's the only thing you hear, and then you know they're coming. And in the theater itself, the sound is so loud, and you're almost cowering.
I shook when they had bullets.
Yeah,
because it's such a shocking experience. The bullet rings through the theater, and you feel it. It's really quite effective. But I think we should talk about some of the other aspects of the film. Like you mentioned, the score, it's spectacular. It just sort of washes over you.
Basically the entire movie, there's a slow ticking noise. At some points it goes, you don't even realize that.
Sometimes you forget.
If you pay attention, if you were to only pay attention to the ticking, you would notice it. But there is a ticking as if the clock is running out. The entire movie. And it's and then there's moments where the score is swelling, and then there's things getting intense. Yeah. But and then also I guess we talk quickly about the cinematography.
It's gorgeous.
Every shot is beautiful.
Yeah. Like the entire thing's shot in IMAX.
Yeah,
I think it's one of the first movies to do that.
I think there's a couple where they're on a boat. Where it's, but at those moments, it's supposed to make you feel claustrophobic.
Yeah.
But other than that, every shot is immense. It's you're either, like I said, when you're sitting down with these soldiers, it takes up the whole screen because that's your entire field of vision.
I think the reason you see it is with a lesser director. I think a lot of these things, they're experimental. They could have fallen flat. With Nolan, he's proven himself as a director, and he's showing, here's some different stuff. Not every movie has to be the same, but it can be just as epic and suspenseful and terrifying. It gets under your skin. And that air combat, it is good.
All right, and that's the cut. All right, so now that we've heard the opening segments of both sides, so, Valerian took their first shot. They gave it their best shot. Maybe not their best shot, but let's see if they can try to fight back. They're against the ropes a little bit for me in my mind. But at this point, this is the battle round. Each person will talk at the same time, each group. So now they're just going head-to-head slugfest. Open discussion. Now, the key part about this, ladies and gentlemen, is all four people have seen both movies. So, everyone is walking with the same knowledge except me. Yet, it is okay if you openly discredit another person's view of that because you saw it a different way. Remember, you only have 5 minutes, and we'll start it now.
Okay, the very first thing I want to bring up, because it is the main character and takes up most of the movie.
Oh, Dane DeHaan's awful.
Yeah, It's
I like Dane DeHaan.
No.
Yeah.
He's
I
terrible.
disagree. I disagree. I don't think he's awful. I think he is miscast.
He's miscast.
So he's awful.
No.
But
He's not awful.
Unlike Cara Delevingne, who makes the most of it, he does not.
He does not know what movie he's in. He's supposed to be playing a playboy who slept with multiple women and is supposed to be so charismatic, so much so that you're drawn to him. He's an attractive guy, but he does not fit that characteristic.
He's a douchebag.
He always, in every movie he plays, he's always brooding. He naturally has a brooding face and a dark look to him. He has a brooding voice. Every single word out of his mouth is dark and brooding, and he's supposed to be charismatic. I understand that he's miscast, but also, Cara Delevingne, she's played horrible.
I think this is one of her
movies.
best roles.
Yeah, this is one of her best roles.
she's
She
so
knew
good
what
in
to
it.
do
She
in that
makes
role.
the most of
Dane
it.
DeHaan didn't.
does
Whether
not.
or not he was miscast,
And that brings
he should
her
have
down.
done. He should have done something in that role. He did not.
Yeah.
Listen, okay, I understand what you're saying. Yes, would it have been better if it was Chris Pratt or some other roguishly handsome bad boy that can bring some comedy to it and some kind of fun Han Solo-like quality to it? Yes, I'm not disagreeing with that. I am saying that you need to see it with Dane DeHaan in the role because it is fascinating. Watching the film,
fascinating to watch.
fascinating. Watching this
watch a
character,
train wreck.
watching this man
I think
play a character that he has no right to play. He should not be in this movie in this role. And the fact that other characters in the movie are taking it seriously make it into a spectacle. You're like, what is happening? How is this movie existing? It's amazing. Now, looking at it that way, I'm going to have to talk to you about your movie. All I heard you guys talk about was like, oh, the sound's really good. Oh, the sound's really good. Yeah, it's going to win a bunch of sound Oscars. That's fine. I care about characters. I care about story. I care about plot. There's no plot in this movie. Just people running from stuff. And then they get away at the end. Oh, big whoop. Who cares? My movie, this Valerian movie, has such a huge scope. It's not so small, just focusing on a couple characters that I don't even know their name. When I was watching Dunkirk, characters get killed, characters get blown up, characters get shot. That kid falls, hits his head, has a hemorrhage, and he dies. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know who it is for. Who are they? What are their names? I don't know what anybody's name is. Who are any of these people? What side are they even fighting for? And this movie, I didn't even know if I was supposed to be against the German fighters because the only reason I would know that the German fighters are evil is because of historical context. If I would walk through this movie with no historical context, I'd be like, yeah, it's just be war. These guys these guys could be the bad guys for all I know. I don't know anything about them. I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know what the movie's about. I don't know what anything's happening.
Quick comment. Okay, the point of the movie is not about the good versus the bad guys. It's about
not.
the terrifying fear that every person has during this moment
In
where you
fact,
can be killed at
they
any
even
moment.
highlight it beautifully by having a German soldier pretending to be British to get the fuck out of that place. And you relate to that
soldier
because
was not German. He is French. He is French.
No!
He was working with them. He was not German. He was French soldier.
well, they're not in the French league either. But it just goes.
Valerian has Rihanna as a stripper. As a stripper.
Wait. Let me get, first of all, not only is Rihanna a stripper, and with everybody, Rihanna is.
She's a
smoke show.
shape-shifting
She is a
stripper.
smoke show.
Who cares?
She changes
She's
several different
amazing.
outfits. She changes into several different outfits.
Then
different
what's
kind of cosplay. Wait. But then the big key to this thing is that when her character, if something bad happens to her character in the movie, I go, oh my god, I got to know this character. I feel bad for them. In the Dunkirk, when a character dies, I'm like, yeah, okay, I didn't know his name. I don't know what he was doing. At least I know the name of the movie.
Like I
It was
said,
Bubbles.
Dunkirk is experimental. It is experimental, but he pulls it off. If you don't feel bad for these people dying, then you don't feel bad for your fellow human. Here's the thing. You say the movie would be better with Chris Pratt as a roguish. No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't, because you say the best thing about it is that it's got all these ideas. But that's because it's just a clusterfuck of ideas. It has so many segues. They say, the bond between Valerian and Laureline is so strong. They save each other like 6 times in the film. It just goes back and forth. It's just like, here's the core idea of the movie. From point A to point B, they veer off like 30 times to all these creative ideas.
But it all serves the major purpose of the movie, which is saving a race of people, a race of species that was wiped out in a war that they didn't even start.
Yeah, that's the core idea. That's the core idea. And then we go and steal a jellyfish at one point.
Aren't you tired
You
of seeing
steal
Star
a
Wars?
jellyfish from a dinosaur.
And stop.
What? I didn't get to talk.
And stop.
I didn't get to say it.
I'm not tired of seeing Star Wars.
Now, on a twist that not even the contestants know,
Oh shit.
I am going to open the floor for 2 more minutes of each team explaining why the other film is good.
Is good. Okay.
Okay, so the reason that Dunkirk is a good movie, obviously, I wouldn't call it a movie, but it is an interesting experience in a theater because of the sound. I think that it's going to win every sound design Oscar. It's going to win sound editing. It's going to win sound design. I think the way that it bombards you with sounds that make you, at least for a time, feel like you're right in the movie with it. That is the best part of the movie. I stand by the point where I didn't care about any of the characters, but it's very immersive in the sense that it uses sound and visuals and the way that they shoot it, like the cinematography of it, to make you feel like you're part of it.
Another thing that's really great about this is is Nolan did one of his. He loves playing with time, and he plays with time in this movie. Yeah. Throughout the movie, the time we spent on the beach is 1 week. The time we spent on the plane is 1 hour, and the time we spent on the boat is 1 day, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's crazy how he blended all that together to fit. To just fit like a, I don't know. It's smooth but it's just so great. I don't know how to describe this. He did a great thing.
And I'll give them points for this in the sense that it's the fact that they have a lot of actors that I didn't recognize in the movie. There are a couple people that you recognize, like Tom Hardy is one of the guys in the plane, but he's always has his face covered, basically. So he could have been anybody. You don't really know.
He plays Bane in this.
He basically plays Bane in this. They have Mark Rylance, who won an Oscar recently, but he's probably one of the bigger name actors in it. And then they have Harry Styles from One Direction. But most of the guys I've never seen before, and it actually lends to the movie's credibility in the sense that I don't know who any of these people are. They're all faceless, nameless. Yeah. They all look basically the same. Yeah. They're all just guys at war, and they're all just doing their thing. And I think that it works to the intent of the movie, but again, the intent of the movie is to be an experience, not an actual film to me.
Done. All right. So that was Team Valerian talking about Dunkirk. Now, for 2 minutes of Team Dunkirk talking about Valerian. Go.
Okay, even though I talked badly about Dane DeHaan, the positive was Cara Delevingne. Like I said, I very much disliked her in previous roles, especially when she's trying to do an American accent. She did a horrible one in Paper Towns, but in this one, she actually improved on it, so it wasn't distracting. But not just the accent, I thought that she knew what movie she was in. She was, watching the trailers, I thought, oh no, it's going to be 2 brooding lead actors. Even though one of them was, I thought she led the charisma. She was actually a joy to watch. I liked when she was on screen, and also another thing would be, I was scared that the CGI would be overwhelming and also bad, but I thought it blended actually really well in the movie, especially there's one underwater scenes with monsters, and I thought that looked pretty good, and I thought the CGI made the world look more realized, and there was different alien creature designs that was also good.
What I liked is, when you have a million ideas in a film, you get some really creative stuff. There are things I have never seen in this film, and I legitimately like them. Big Market has a few flaws conceptually, but the idea of basically making people walk around this almost virtual reality in order to get into a marketplace that is in another dimension, it's so clever and just different and weird. Same thing goes for the main species that they're trying to save. They have all these weird ideas, like an animal that multiplies objects. It is just such a creative movie. It's bursting.
All right, and that's it. So, we got the 2 minutes from both groups about the other films, and I'm going to open it up for final thoughts. Let's make it quick, guys. We'll go with Team Valerian first.
I guess we'll each say something that our final thought. I guess I'll just keep it short. The sheer scope of Valerian is what makes it must see. You have to see it because it's so huge. As Michael said, it's bursting. There's so many ideas that are weighing so heavily down in this movie that it can't even carry them. It has to be seen how many things. Like, I feel like there's going to be a generation of filmmakers in the future that will each come up with ideas for science fiction movies that were just based on the parts of this movie. They'll be like, oh, I like that part. What if I did a whole movie about this? Mm-hmm. And that's going to happen. It's going to happen for years. We're going to be like, oh, that reminds me of that thing that happened in Valerian. This one small part of Valerian. And I think that's brilliant. It's inspiring to people that it's going to be, it gets the creative juices flowing. There's so many things there that are so creatively well done that I think that you need to see it, especially if you're a creative person.
All right. All right. You just got to see this movie. It's a movie like this with this many crazy ideas would never get greenlit in Hollywood today. It's just not possible. If you want to see an honest to God, crazy, true science space opera, you got to see this. You got to see Valerian.
All right. That's good. All right. Now, Team Dunkirk, let's hear your final thoughts.
In terms of Dunkirk, it is just such a emotional film from a different perspective. I think that's why you need to see it. It is, besides the sound design and besides the visuals, it is a different way of making a war film. So many war films nowadays have that sort of cookie cutter formula. And this one is a completely different take, and I think he pulls it off spectacularly. On the flip side, Valerian, Rihanna has this part, but then she turns into a blob. Because she's a shapeshifter. Her real form is a blob. That's Rihanna for you. And, it's just, there's some weird stuff in Valerian that works, but it's bogged down by the fact that there's just unnecessary dialogue and unnecessary exposition and unnecessary side quests. That's why. Yeah.
I guess my final thoughts are, like I mentioned before, this movie it's so visceral. It's not about the good guys versus the bad guys or British versus the German. It's about, at this moment, these soldiers are trying to get home. That's their one goal. They're like, screw this war. I just want to get home. I want to be safe. And it's at that moment that you're with them. It's about the terror and suspense and how close you feel to them. And it's like I said, it's a cinematic experience. It needs to be seen as soon as possible before the next blockbuster gets into IMAX. If you wait too long, you won't be able to see it there. It's like an experience I've never had before in a theater. Valerian, even though it has different ideas, you've seen that before. You've seen different.
No, you have not.
No, not exactly. But I'm saying you've seen similar visuals. You've seen similar storylines. You've seen heists and stuff like that. But I'm saying you've never seen a war film, and you've never seen a film in general like Dunkirk.
All right. So that's a lot to take in. Yeah, both had some shots. I will say that, based on the commentary that was given and just your enthusiasm of the films, I would say I'd have to give the enthusiasm piece to Valerian. I felt like Valerian was explained as a mess, but I think the reason why it won just ever so slightly is because of what Matt said, saying this is one of those films like Donnie Darko, the one of those films that it's not going to make a ton of money, and it's not going to be maybe even a good film at the end. It's going to be one of those cult classics that people are going to look back on and draw some ideas from. Yeah. And I
agree with that point.
I think I can agree with that because of the fact that I did see Mike's face, and he was kind of like, you know what? I think he has a point there. And I would have to go there. Now, in terms of sheer just my movie watching experience, I think everyone in the group knows that I was so against seeing Valerian. And I still haven't changed my mind based on what has been said. This is not my verdict. But I would have to say my sheer movie-going experience, money out of my pocket going to, I would say Dunkirk wins that because of the fact that you can't go wrong with Nolan. It's like Greg Popovich. I mean, you just get a beautiful movie. You get a beautiful, not even story, but cinematics. You get a refreshing tale. Like you sit down and you come out of the movie like, wow, I feel like my $15 went to something good. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to feel like I wasted my money. Now, based on that, I have a rating system in my head. And I think just by a slight margin, which is very surprising to me. Because I thought for sure I would not want to see this movie. I will say that I'm going to see Dunkirk.
Oh, fuck!
Damn you, the 7 to 80s under us down.
Damn. I'm just so sad.
There you go. There you have it. That was the first ever Versus episode of the Grapevine Movie Reviews. I actually had a lot of fun with this. It was a good time. Congratulations, Michael and Mariana.
The rightful winners.
We are shaking hands right now. If you guys can't see,
Josh
we're
is
shaking
denying
hands.
me. I don't. He's not a very nice winner or loser.
Anyway,
we're doing the.
this is a good time. We're definitely going to try to do one of these in the future with a different pair of movies. But until next time, I'm Matt.
I'm Yash.
I'm Michael.
I'm Mariana.
I'm Andy.
Thanks for joining us on the Grapevine Movie Reviews. We'll see you next time.